Hi everyone, I'm Ellie, this is Fletcher. Our Instagram is at Ellie Florence and Fletcher. I put on my story a couple of weeks ago, actually not a couple of weeks, a couple of days ago, that I'd be doing a breastfeeding Q&A because I do actually get quite a few questions about breastfeeding, and I said that I was going to start expressing some milk for Fletcher so he can take a bottle. I did express with Florence as well, so I got lots of questions regarding that. This one's very wriggly today. He's not giving me a break, which is very tiring. If you've probably seen on my stories, I don't ever get to put him down, so I'm very tired. But we shall power through. What I've done is split the video into 5 sections, and there's about 4 or 5 questions per part, so I didn't want to make it too long. I'm not a lactation consultant, I must say. This is just what's worked well for me, what I think has helped other people from when I've told them what to do. Not what to do, but helped with advice, what's worked well. And yeah, so the 5 sections that I've done are the first part of your breastfeeding journey, like the beginning, the hard part, the first 6 to 8 weeks, so difficult. The second part will just be more about general breastfeeding information, what worked well for me. The third part will be about expressing. Now, I didn't exclusively pump, but I pumped enough with Florence. I still exclusively fed her breast milk, but I did pump every now and again if we were going out, if we had a date night, which is impossible now because of COVID, but we are trying. Number 4, section 4 will just be about breast milk, what I've learned through researching online, through Facebook mum groups, just general information that I know and I'm aware of that maybe some other people didn't know. And section number 5 will be the daily life and the lifestyle of a breastfeeding mum, those sort of like difficult night feeds and things like that. So yeah, I hope you enjoy. Okay, so I can't guarantee that this section is going to go very well because he is so wriggly. Look at him, eating his hand like that. Oh my god, he's teething so badly, and every time that I go to sit down, he kicks off. He likes me holding him all the time. So maybe if I hold him like this and I like sway, does this work? He's tired as well, great. Okay, so I might need to latch him on. Please just embrace the lounge where it's COVID, no one cares, no one's going out. So, section 1, like I said, is the beginning of breastfeeding, the first journey and all that sorts of bits. Do you mind? I'm trying to talk here. Yeah, so the first question I got was, how did I deal with cluster feeds? Now, cluster feeding is probably the bloody hardest part of the first part, like the first few 6 to 8 weeks of breastfeeding. It's so difficult. But if you stick through and you get through the cluster feeds, it might feel like you are feeding 24/7. You might feel claustrophobic, you might feel like no one understands, like you question whether you're making enough milk, but honestly, you are. It's absolutely normal. All babies that breastfed go through it. It's just they'll feed little and often as opposed to big feeds, which you probably thought you were getting used to, and then all of a sudden they started cluster feeding. They're just going through a growth spurt, and they need to feed little and often to up your milk supply so that you're definitely making enough. Now, it is tough, it is tiring, but I promise you it does get easier. Once the cluster feed is over, it gets so much easier. Question number 2 is, do I feed on demand or do I sort of like time feeds? I have only ever known other mums as well who breastfeed to feed on demand, just because when the baby's hungry you can just get the boob out and they'll feed, settle. I think because you can't really know exactly how much they're getting, like ounce wise, you can't say, oh, they've had 3 ounces so they'll last 3 hours. It doesn't always work like that. Sorry, my voice is going really weird. I think I'm not usually used to speaking like this, but I shall carry on. Yeah, so what's I said? Feeding on demand. Yeah, that's basically how I do it, and I think that's how most breastfeeding mums do it. Midwives might tell you different. Midwives might say, oh my god, like you need to feed every 2 hours. But you know your baby, you know whether your baby's hungry, had enough, unsettled, needs it sooner, needs it later. Just go with your baby and relax. Okay, I told you. He's been really well. So, this is often what happens when I'm in the middle of doing something. Nothing's perfect. Right, so, question number 3 is, how do you get through the first week? You get nipple cream. Like, honestly, I think you pronounce it Lanonish. Lanonish. It's the nipple cream, and it's honestly so amazing. It's not got any bad parts in it, so you can put it on just before you're about to feed, and it really moisturizes your nipple, because trust me, you get dry, you get cracked nipples. Mine bled both sides, and I would literally be in tears, clenching my toes round. It makes me shudder just thinking about it now. Those first few moments when they first latch on, and then once they've got the latch properly. Come on. Okay, so I'm back. He's fallen asleep, although his eyes have just opened. I think because I started talking, but if he knows my voice, I'll go back to sleep. First week, yeah, nipple cream, do it. I think it's called Lanonish. I don't know, but it sort of creates like this nipple shield, which isn't harmful for the baby if they suck it either. So really good, recommend that. Breast pads, I still actually have to wear breast pads now, and I'm 5 months postpartum, because I just have letdowns all the time, random letdowns. He could cry, Florence could cry, she could have a tantrum, my boobs leak. And it's been more this time round than with Florence that I'll look down and I'll be like, look, what the hell? So embarrassing. Like, if I'm walking around the shops and I've not realised, and I've got like a big wet patch, and I'm like, my bad. But yeah, the next question is on how to deal with engorgement and blocked milk ducts. So I've actually had myositis once with Fletcher, and I always got blocked ducts with Florence, and it's absolutely horrible. They're the most painful thing in the world. You don't think, like, you actually think that there's something wrong, and like, I remember my first milk duct, I was like, Luke, I need to go to the hospital, I'm in so much pain, this isn't normal. It's completely normal. What I found worked well for me was if I ran a hot bath and I literally massage like this, like so hard, so I'd make the skin red where I massage that hard, just to try and hand express that milk out. I'd also do the same. I'd have the breast pump on, because I've only got a single breast pump, it's a lot easier. I'd put the breast pump on, and while it was pumping on the highest setting, I would massage it. I didn't find that like hot flannels or anything like that helped. It would literally be, I would have to push it out myself. So doing that in a hot bath, because obviously everything relaxes in a hot bath. You feel more relaxed in a hot bath as well. And the final thing was like how to deal with sore and cracked nipples. Honestly, my nipples bled so much at both the beginning with Florence and Fletcher. With Florence I actually used nipple shields, but I didn't want to do that with Fletcher because I just couldn't be bothered to sterilise something that it was for one reason. So I thought, no, I'm just going to power through. I did power through. I just used the nipple cream, like I said. Sorry, there's a weird pigeon that's just flown into my garden, and that's why I got distracted. But yeah, definitely it's like, it comes in like a purple bottle. It's amazing, and there's no limit on how many times you can use it either. So yeah, that is on the first section of the beginning of breastfeeding, just a couple of questions. Thanks. Okay, now for part 2. That is just breastfeeding information, what I found worked well, and all things like that. So the first question I got is, what is my must-have breastfeeding product? I would say it's got to be the nipple cream. I know I've mentioned it before, but the nipple cream is honestly amazing. I would not have got through those first weeks without it. And I don't know, maybe breastfeeding bras, like nursing bras, because I can't not wear them. I know some people just wear like sports bras and stuff like that, but I find it so difficult to get a boob out of a sports bra and little strappy bras and things. I 100% would have to use a nursing bra. All good. A nursing bra. I'm actually wearing one from Sainsbury's at the moment. I actually think I mentioned Sainsbury's a lot, but I just love their stuff. It's so good, and it's actually very pretty. It's a very pretty bra, and it comes down like that, and then obviously your nipple comes out there, and then it's like that. So probably nursing bras as well. Like, don't think you can get away with not wearing one, because life is easier if you wear one. Does the baby need winding if they're breastfed? Yes, is the short answer of that. I've had to wind both Florence and Fletcher. They say it is a bit of a myth that a baby doesn't need winding, because all babies get gas, and where their little bodies aren't developed enough to bring that up themselves, you do have to bring up their gas. They might not swallow as much air, but they will still swallow some, because they're still learning how to suck, and all the first, like, if you think they've never done anything before, so they'll need to suck, they need to learn, so they're gonna gasp some air. And you hear of things like colic and acid reflux and all things like that, so there are other reasons as to why you would need to burp your baby, not just to bring up the wind, otherwise they'll get little belly aches, but just to help with the acid reflux and colic and all things like that. It does help towards that. So what are the benefits of breastfeeding? There are so many benefits of breastfeeding, but I don't want to feel like I'm pro breastfeeding against bottle feeding and formula, because I'm not. It's just a personal choice that I've had. All of my friends have bottle fed. My friend is actually due to give birth in a few weeks, and she's bottle feeding. My my sister-in-law and brother-in-law, their children were bottle fed. I actually am probably the only person I know that breastfeeds, that I speak to a lot. Like, not that I speak to myself a lot, but I mean out of my close friends. So the benefits of breastfeeding are, you can just get your boob out whenever you want. You don't have to stand and sterilise and wash bottles and just spend your life at the washing bowl or in the dishwasher and things like that. There's a lot of benefits in regards to time. Now, in regards to like nutrition side of things, they say that breastfeeding is better in regards to the nutrients it provides for the baby. When the baby's first born, sorry, I don't know what happened there, I got cut off. You provide something called colostrum, which is yellow. It's like a yellow liquid. People call it golden liquid, but it is the good stuff. It's full of nutrients, and it's just before your milk comes in, so it's around for about a week. For most people, it's about 3 or 4 days after giving birth, and it's full of all the rich fattiness that they need to start putting on the weight, all of the nutrients. And that's actually something that's good about breast milk and breastfeeding. The fact that you can go out anywhere and just get your boob out. If your child's crying, you can literally just give them the boob. Also, during the night, you don't have to get up and make a bottle. You don't have to make sure all bottles have been prepared. You don't have the expenditure of formula as well. So you do actually spend quite a lot of money on tubs of formula, whereas breastfeeding doesn't have any of those prices that come with them. I mean, you do have to pay for a breast pump, but say for £100 to £150, as opposed to that could last you for like a year and a half, opposed to like I don't know, I think it's like £5 to £10 a tub a week, depending on how hungry your baby is, what type of formula you get, whether they need special anti-colic formula. It does actually end up being quite costly. What are the negatives of breastfeeding? That I'd say with Florence, she was a really bad sleeper during the evening. She still is now. Really bad. She wakes up at about 1-2 o'clock in the morning. Still, I don't breastfeed her now, but I think just because she's got used to waking up like that from a young age, it's really frustrating that she still does it, because Fletcher actually sleeps really well. Another negative would be block ducts. Like, you do have a lot of pain when it goes through the first week, or if you get a blocked milk duct. Another negative would be if your baby has an allergy. Now, a lot of people don't actually know about this, but you can get things like, they can be allergic to eggs, they can be allergic to cow's milk. So I know there's quite a few mums on Instagram where their children are allergic to cow's milk protein. So what that means is they have to completely cut dairy out of their diet so that none of it passes through their milk to their baby, because their baby can have an adverse reaction. That also comes with like things like soya, and there's been like you can't eat tomatoes, and just basically being able to limit what you can eat, just because your baby might have an allergy or an adverse reaction to what you're eating. And I think that's probably where I'll stop on this section. Okay, so section number 3 is all about expressing what worked well for me. Like I said, I exclusively breastfed Florence, but I did pump when she got to around about 10 weeks. I started introducing a pump, just because I needed a little bit of freedom. Fletcher, as you've seen from my stories, is absolutely tongued me, but Florence wasn't as much. She was still very clingy to me, but wasn't as much because we introduced a bottle. Luke sometimes fed her. She would go to my mother-in-law, who would be able to feed her a bottle of express milk. So the first question I got was, what pump do I use? I actually use a Avent. It's not one of your big fancy ones. It's on offer on Amazon at the moment for £100. I did put it in my bio as a link, so you can click on my link tree, and it's the Avent single breast pump. I got that, and it came with a couple of bottles, all of the cleaning bits. The pump is actually the same pump that I used with Florence, which I'm now using for Fletcher, so it has lasted amazing. It's got 3 different settings of suction on it, and I've just really loved it from the beginning. I haven't had to replace any parts of it either, which I find really good. The next one is, what can you do to encourage supply? Now, I have actually had a slight oversupply with Florence, and more so Fletcher, so I've never really had to like face undersupply, but I have been part of groups where mums have had an undersupply, and I see things about I think in America it's called Gatorade. I'm not sure. Apparently that's really good for supply. Also, you can buy lactation cookies and like oats and things like that, which can help encourage supply. But more of the more natural ways to encourage supply is like, if I'm pumping, what I did the other day was I sat with Fletcher on my lap, and I know it sounds really weird, but I smelt him. I smelt his head and that, and the smell of him helped to encourage me to have more letdowns and encourage production of more milk. Also, what I used to do with Florence is have her feed on one breast and then express at the same time on the other breast, because I've got a single pump, it's really easy to do that. So it used to capture a lot more milk, which you'll probably know if you're feeding on one boob and the baby's on the other. If you're feeding on one boob and there's nothing on the other, you can buy a hacker which like collects the milk, otherwise you just leak milk which you could store and use as in express bottle. So also like thinking about just like thinking about your baby as well, and maybe thinking about giving them a cuddle or an item of clothing that smells like them. All things like that can be really, really good ways to help encourage your supply. Just making sure you're super relaxed as well. So if that means taking yourself, I quite often take myself upstairs with Fletcher. We'll sit on the bed or close the curtains, close the door so it's nice and dark, nice and cozy, making sure you're super relaxed. And if you're relaxed, then your body will just allow the milk to flow. So what's next? When do I express? So I actually express in the morning. So Fletcher has a couple of feeds at about 7, 8 o'clock when we're just lying in bed. Then we get up for the day and I'll express them because that's when I've got the most milk. Where he hasn't fed all night, I'll have the most milk in the morning. With Florence, I did sometimes go in between feeds, but I'd wait like a good hour after she'd fed to express, because otherwise I'd feel like I'd be expressing to empty, and then if she needed feeding, there might not be as much milk, or I just wanted to make sure that I felt like I was always getting milk, even though I know you can never stop producing milk. I just wanted to make sure that there was enough. That's why I do the morning, because I find that I wake up with the most milk in the morning. So if I express one boob, I can get about 4 or 5 ounces out of one boob and then still have enough in case Fletcher is hungry an hour later. So that's when I express. What bottles do I use? So with Florence, it actually worked to use the cheaper corner shop bottles. And I was really surprised because we tried Tommy Tippy, we tried Mam. She then went on to Tommy Tippy when she was 1 and went on to cow's milk, but we actually used like, I think they were like £1.50, just really, really crappy bottles, and it just worked amazing. So with Fletcher, I've only tried him so far on a Mam bottle. I am yet to try a Tommy Tippy bottle, and if that doesn't work, I'm gonna try just a cheap, crappy bottle, because I think where the teat's quite soft, it mimics the breast. Another good tip I learned about bottles, if you want them to take a bottle, is so you get the different flows on a teat. Always stick to a slow flow, because if your baby enjoys taking a bottle and you've switched up to a medium flow, they will find that they have to work a lot less if they're getting fed from a bottle as opposed to getting fed on the breast, where they have to work for the milk, that they'll then just start favouring the bottle, and then slowly they'll drop feeds, and that's not really what you want. You just want to have a break sometimes. So I'd always say stick to a slower teat so they still have to work for the milk. And then how did I get Florence to take a bottle? I think because I used the nipple shields with Florence, she was more open to then having a pacifier, a dummy, and then that made it a lot easier when it came to giving her a bottle of express milk. Whereas with Fletcher, he literally just screams the moment I put dummy in the mouth. So I'm still working on trying to get him to take a bottle. Although the other night he took ½ an ounce, which isn't a lot, but it's progress. And that was because Luke held him and fed him, so he couldn't smell me, he couldn't see me, he couldn't think, oh, mum's there, I want the boob from her. He's used to me feeding him. So because Luke held him, Luke actually got him to take the ½ an ounce because it was not me, he couldn't see the boob. So yeah. Okay, so section 4, we're almost there, we've got 4 and 5. 4 is all about breast milk, so how to store breast milk. You can keep it on the counter to 4 to 6 hours, in the fridge for 4 to 6 days, in a freezer, like a home in your fridge freezer, as long as it's up to 17, 18 degrees, can be for 6 to 9 months. And then a like deep freezer is like a chest freezer, so anything sort of 20, minus 16 to 18, and then minus 20 on your deep freezer can be up to 12 months. So how long is it good for? So once you have defrosted breast milk, it's good for 24 hours if you keep it refrigerated. Okay, so heating breast milk. So once it's thawed out and defrosted, you don't put it in the microwave. Just like a bottle of formula, you will notice that the actual milk itself will have like a layer on top of it, and that's a layer of fat. So once you've thawed the milk, when you heat it up in the jug of water, it'll be like boiling hot water like you do a bottle of formula. That fat will melt back into the milk again, and just give it a shake and it will all mix back together. You don't want to scoop off that top layer of fat because that is all the goodness, all the nutrients that's going to help your baby put on weight. So you literally pop the expressed like bottle or whatever you've expressed into the jug of hot water, and it will disintegrate back into the milk. Give it a shake and it will all be good to go again. So what are the benefits of breast milk? So there's actually some stuff that I learned on breast milk is about like antibodies. So if you're unwell or your baby's unwell, your breast milk will actually create the antibodies to help fight off that infection, that virus, that illness. So for example, if your baby's ill, something to do with the saliva will go back into your breast milk when they're feeding, and it will help create the antibodies to fight against those nasties. So you might have seen online before, I don't know whether you have or haven't, I've only had it happen to me twice. When I've expressed milk and stored it in the fridge, it's actually been blue. It's had a blue tint to it, and that is because it's really rich in antibodies, because it might be because you're ill or your baby's ill, and it's showing the antibodies that help your baby to fight against whatever they need to fight against around them. Which is really, really amazing. And a lot of people use, when Fletcher was younger, he had really, really, really dry skin, and I just expressed a little bit of breast milk and put it on the dry skin, and it cleared it up in a couple of days. So I know it's really, really common for people to express milk and make it into creams, or you'll quite often see like milk baths, so you can fill a bath and pop a couple of ounces of expressed milk in it, and it will be really, really good for the baby's skin. You can also use it on yourself, on your own skin, but everyone sort of has their own opinions on what they want to do with it, but it is really, really good for you, really, really good antibodies. Section 5 is just about like daily life, the lifestyle of a breastfeeding mum. It is hard, like you can tell by my hair, I have not had time to wash it today. I actually have like breast milk stains on my top. It is bloody hard, and hats off to anyone that makes it even past the first feed, because it is so draining, so tiring, but it is worth it, and you are doing what is best for your baby. So one of the first questions I got was, how did I wean Florence off of the boob? So Florence it was just past her first birthday, so she was about 12, 13 months old, and I slowly started dropping feed. She was only really having a feed when she woke up in the morning and a feed when she went to bed, because she was having 3 meals a day and snacks and juice. So it was more just a comfort thing. When she woke up, she wanted feeding, to have a big feed to start her day. And she's only just now, a couple of days ago, dropped her morning feed of cow's milk. So she has a bottle of cow's milk in the morning, a bottle of cow's milk in the evening, and she's 2.5. So she quite often fed to sleep. It actually got to the point where she went in her own room when she was 8 months old, and I would climb in her cot with her, feed her to sleep, and then have to climb out of her crib again, and then when she woke up in the middle of the night, get back in her crib with her. So I was constantly sneaking backwards and forwards, so it is very, very tiring. But when it came to weaning her, some of my older followers might have seen this, but I bought a Ollie the Owl nightlight. She was in her own room, an Ollie the Owl nightlight, some new pyjamas, and it's Blossom and Blossom, I think it's Blossom and Blossom, it's like a night pillow spray. Completely sprayed her bed with it, really got her to relax. Gave her a bottle of milk to go to bed with, and just laid with her until she fell asleep, and stroked her head. She cried for about, when I left the room, she cried for about 10 minutes, so beware, there is crying and it is going to happen, and it's completely normal. If you go back in, we found if we went back in with Florence and then left her again, it was worse. So if we just left her, after about 2 or 3 days, it slowly got 5 minutes less, and then after a week, she was just literally, she knew it was a new routine. She went to bed with her bottle of milk, nightlight on. It played white noise as well, so we hadn't used white noise since Florence was a baby, like a newborn. So we ended up having to use it again, and then when she moved, it would start up again after 45 minutes. So that was really good. And another question I got was, how do I feel about breastfeeding in public? I know a lot of new mums are put off breastfeeding because they worry about breastfeeding in public, but I have never ever had any negative comments said to me, and I feed anywhere, literally anywhere, I don't care. I'm like, look, my baby needs feeding, and I'm always going to do what's best for my baby. At the end of the day, I'm not going to let my baby cry out and scream because they're hungry. And I think for myself, if I breastfeed in public, it empowers other women too. It's completely normal. How do people think babies were fed in the olden days? There wasn't things like formula and that around. People need to stop being so naive and trying to sexualise boobs, because we all know what they were made for to begin with. Like 95% of people in the olden days were breastfed, and that's just the way it is. If my baby needs feeding, my baby needs feeding. I don't like just get my boob out and flop it around everywhere. Like, I'm not about that life. I discreetly feed, so I don't cover them at all. I literally wear my breastfeeding bra, so I'm wearing a top like this, I literally pull it up like this, latch them on, and when they're like that, you can't even see. You cannot even see. So I don't cover, because I tried covering before and it just stressed me out more. Baby would start crying, I'd get really stressed, I'd start crying, I'd start panicking, and it just didn't work. I remember the first time I tried to feed Florence in public, and me and Luke went to a pub for a Sunday meal. I had a blanket over me, a muslin over me, a really thick jumper on, wasn't working, she was crying, I was like starting to tear up, I was panicking. So all I did was I picked her up and I ran to the toilet, and I sat on the toilet in this pub breastfeeding, and was like, I actually don't know whether I can do this, like sitting here breastfeeding. Then I come back out and I thought, do you know what? I don't care. Like, I'm just gonna try it. I fed, I got Luke to take a picture of me, because I thought if Luke takes a picture of me, I haven't ever posted it anywhere, but then I will feel confident just by looking back on that, like, wow, that's something I achieved, and I'll look back at it in years to come and be like, oh my god, I'm so proud of myself. Now, like, because I fed Florence for so long, with Fletcher, I don't care. I literally, and you shouldn't care, your baby needs feeding, and I think it's really important to have supportive people around you who, like, say if you are feeding, your partner can get you like a cup of water or sit with you and don't make you feel like you're alone, and I think that's really important. But yeah. Okay, so that is the end of my video. I'm sorry it went on a bit longer than what I thought. I do have one sleeping baby. I have another one running right downstairs with Luke. He's on his lunch break, he's working at home at the moment. Please let me know if you enjoyed this. I don't know if you want me to go into things more, if you do have any other questions, if you want me to do another one of these. I'd love to have some more questions come through. I think I might have missed a couple of questions, but I can always do it in another Q&A. I just didn't want this to go on for too long, and I think I've rambled enough. But yeah, like I said, my page is at Ellie, Florence and Fletcher. Thanks for watching.